By the way, this will be shared amongst the participants. Do I have your consent? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just among the participants, okay? It won't go anywhere else. Brilliant. So thank you very much for being here, for the time that you're here. So I'm just going to recap with what I'm going to cover today. And it's, I will follow up with this video and a PDF of how to speak to your children within the next 40 to 48 to 72 hours. And if there's anything that I feel like we've missed, then I'll do another video and I'll add. So my intention is to do my best to honor your time and energy, and the money that you've spent for being here. And mostly, I just want you to take away as many tools as you possibly can and apply it in your real life and then do this thing. Okay. So, what we're going to do is understanding narcissism. And some of you might already know this, understand this, but we will just get some clarity around things and then recognize different types of narcissist and how it actually affects the way you parent your children and what things that you face. And I will give you proven strategies to work with your children so that you're actually connecting with your children, because that's the only way we can deal with this situation. And then understanding the post separation abuse and how to not successfully navigate it, and then strategies to enjoy your parenthood, and yeah, how to recover. So we will work through this. Have you had a chance to print the workbook that I'd sent?
I personally haven't been able to print it, but I have looked through it and I have got it up in front of me now.
That's fine. If you can get it up in front of you, that's absolutely wonderful. If not, again, I will be recording this so you can follow it up again. That's fine. If you can have a pen and a paper or anything that you can type notes in, that'll be even better, because we're going to do a lot of things as we go move along. So, apart from what I have just shared now, is there anything burning that you really want to discuss today? And I'll let you know if I can and or if I won't be able to. But if I can't, I will at least do some content around it and follow up. So, is there anything that you feel like I really want help with this one? No? Am I covering generally everything?
The only thing I would say is on the parenting aspect, when kind of the other parent is putting the children in the middle. I
Yeah,
think
the whole thing is all about that,
that's what I
actually.
figured. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm here. And just so you know, I will have to jump off at like 4, but other than that, I'll be driving, but I'll still have it on for a little bit.
All right. No worries. Okay.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for that.
much.
This whole workshop is all about that. So don't
Perfect.
worry, we will cover that. Yeah. Okay. Um, so I'm just gonna quickly introduce myself to you. But we will also have about 5 minutes break in between because it's a 2-hour workshop. So, we just need a bit of sort of need to change the physiology a little bit. Otherwise, our brains kind of stop functioning. Okay, so we'll have that break about 7 o'clock. Okay, so briefly about myself, how I got into this for obvious reasons. Obviously, I'm in the same situation as you are. But mainly, I mean, thank God I was a teacher before. I did teaching for about 19 years before. And so I already had a lot of training around child development, working with children and safeguarding. And I had already trained as a life coach. And I had sort of holistic tools in my toolbox as well. So, but boy, was I not prepared for what I was experiencing at the time. And I was really, really shocked. How can you put children in the middle? How can you do this to children? How can you traumatize your own children? I just didn't understand. So I had to deep dive into the research and then train myself around. I have non-clinical training around working with narcissism and also domestic violence, and then ton of research. I mean, I know most of you go through this phase where you just watch endless TikTok, endless uh, videos on social media on narcissism. Some of you might, and some of you might not. But I've done a ton of research on this one, and I think I can cover everything from every angle. So let's hope for the best. So that's just about me. But if you want to read a little bit more about me, you can visit my website, and there's a lot about me, my childhood, and everything is there. So the work I do, I was really hesitant to get into this work, but what I really realized later on is I have a ton of skills, knowledge, practical tools that I can share with people, because this is something I know I've done well, and I've done it really well. Okay. So I thought, why am I keeping this knowledge to myself? I'm going to share it, and so yeah, I turned that into the work I do. That's the kind of the purpose behind it. um so let's get into it. How many of you, well, how much do you know about narcissism and what narcissistic patterns are? We'll have a bit of a discussion. You might have heard about it, you might not have heard about it. Why don't we start there? Anybody know anything about it?
I know a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. Why don't you share a few things that you know, um, Charlene?
Um, I'm a conscious parenting coach, and I went through my program. I'll put my video on. I went through my program back in 2019. So before that, I was just experiencing a lot of like trying to make it work, but I knew something wasn't right. And once I got into my program, which was really, even though it was for coaching others, it ended up becoming about coaching myself and learning about myself first, is that I started to realize that he had many narcissistic tendencies. So obviously not diagnosed, probably will never be diagnosed, but he had a lot of behaviors um, that were under the umbrella of narcissism, if you want to say. I spent a year, so I went through my program, and it just became worse and worse because I was starting to step into something kind of big for me, even though I started my program because of my children, but it started to step into understanding myself better.
So,
And
if that's okay, if I'm all right to stop you there,
please
what?
do.
Oh, yeah. So, what personality traits do you consider to be narcissistic? So, in your understanding.
So I'm going to say for me, some of the biggest things that I see now, like many years later doing this work, is quite frankly, well, 100% the language towards the other person, right? Constantly looking to shame the other person, right? That is huge because now I see it differently than what I used to see it as. But I can see how whenever he realizes he's losing control, if you want to say, the first thing he tries to do is shame me. Things I've shared in my relationship with him over 20 years um, start to surface, and he starts to bring those up. There's a lot of like, I want to say entitlement, right? Like it's so self-centered and entitlement. Like my whole relationship with him was like, yeah, we'll go on vacation, but it's going to be where I want to go. Yeah, I'm going to spend a bunch of money on vacation, but it's going to be my vacation because it's my time and where I want to go. Oh, yeah, we'll go spend the whole day in New York City. It'll be so fun. We'll go here, but it's going to be my way. What I started to find out was anytime I would speak up, it was a problem because it wasn't his way. So now I just began my divorce. Like I just filed a few weeks ago. And now what's happening is it's the same thing. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's my way. It's my time. It's going to be, and it's a lot of this, what I see with him, it's so much entitlement, and it's
Yeah.
so simple because he really believes like it should be his way. It's
Yeah.
so innate in him.
Yeah.
And it starts off very little with food and sleep and rest and having a good time to major things in his life.
Yeah.
And I find that to be one of, and I don't know what the label is, covert, over, it's not overt. Well, I don't know any of that, but I know that this is very much his tendency, and the grandiosity of like, grandiosity is huge. He thinks he's fucking amazing, you know? And the hardest part is, to be frank, so does everybody else around him. It's
Yes.
like I'm becoming the one who doesn't. I don't,
You
you
just,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. You just briefed everything in your own experience, but I will give
Hmm.
you sort of the labels to your experience, okay?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. So narcissistic people, the reason for narcissism is two things, two main things. One is shame, deep, deep, deep shame about themselves. And the other thing is grandiosity. So there are two slides of this scale that they go between. And in order for them to cover that shame, they have established that grandiosity. So all the other patterns that manifest in the relationship, like the entitlement, vindictive behavior, being a victim, um, rage, rage, lack of empathy, lack of self-reflect and disrespect for others, manipulation, lying, bullying, all these behavior traits that manifest in relationships, particularly in intimate, close relationship. That includes partner, intimate partner, and children, parents, siblings, close work colleagues, and friends. They it manifests in these relationships because they want to cover their shame in and the grandiosity is a way of them covering their um shame. So I the narcissistic people want four things all the time. That's they want service, right? This is from Professor Dr. Vankin, I think. He's on YouTube. You can Google him or YouTube him. Narcissistic people want four things. That is service. They want to be served all the time. Does this any of this resonate with you? They want to be served all the time. They want sex. They want supply. That means narcissistic supply. And then they want security. They want to feel the security all the time. Hence, they don't want to feel boredom. They want security all the time. They want to get that security from somebody else all the time. According to Vankin, Dr. Vankin, if you can provide two of these things at any given time to the narcissist, yeah, then they are okay. Then they're okay. And there's validation, yes. And what happens to the person who lives with these people is that there is this constant, they want two of these things all the time. They either want sex and validation supply, sex and service, or service and valid one two of these all the time. So what happens is they end up expecting a lot from you, but they don't want you to expect anything from them, right? Everything must be like they can ask all the needs. What about me? What about me? But if you go with what about me, then that's it. What happens is there's this word salad, and you're confused, and the cruelty is just unbelievable. It leaves you with what you call cognitive dissonance, right? You're confused. How can a person do this? How can a person uses their own child? Right? For a normal person, we don't have that reference point in our brain to be that cruel, because our internal world has empathy, self-reflection, compassion, and for most of us, We might be angry, but we can still regulate ourselves. We can slam a door and we can still regulate ourselves. But for the narcissist, they're not regulated, right? They're not regulated. Their nervous system is constantly in this dysregulated sense, in the sense that they're constantly feeling attacked, right? They're constantly feeling attacked. Even your empathy makes them feel attacked. Your kindness makes them feel attacked, right? Your love makes them feel attacked because it reminds them of what they're unable to feel and what they're unable to give. So what they do is they continue to look for supply, and this supply can come in many, many ways, right? That supply can come in devaluing you, manipulating you, lying, cheating, coercive control. This supply can come in any way. Narcissism is a spectrum. Towards the end of that spectrum, what you have is the narcissistic personality disorder. That's the end of it, right? And we have some people in this corner with the NPD with what you call the dark triad. Okay, no empathy, no remorse, no reflection. And that's really, really dangerous because they don't give a shit about what happens to the other people. They will do whatever they want to do to get what they want, when they want it, how they want it. That's the extreme version of it. That's where the physical violence and, and if any of you are feeling triggered, just like give yourself a little butterfly tap here, and then you'll be all right. Hopefully you will regulate. And otherwise, just let me know. I can stop what I'm saying and find a different way of saying it. So yeah, so at the end of that spectrum, so you have all this violence. But narcissism is a spectrum. So you have so the mild narcissist, very childish, very like toddler-like one, and then you have the medium kind of narcissist. The one I think my experience is with one of these people, well, in the intimate relationship, and then I have my father as the malignant one. So I've experienced it from every angle. My mom is a bit grandiose and more covert narcissist. So when I read research about narcissism, I'll go, oh yeah, my dad was like that. Oh yeah, my mom was like that. Oh yeah, I have an auntie like that. That's how I interpret narcissism, So lucky me. Um, but yeah, so a middle one. So you will have many, 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 many good days, but the bad days are really, really bad. It leaves you feeling really confused, right? And then we've talked about the end of it. So there are different types of narcissists. I'll take you through some of the descriptions. So different types of narcissist. But what I will also do is I will send you this ebook that I've written so you can read a bit more about it, okay? So, for the purpose of this session, have you got any questions at the moment? Any questions?
Just real quick, what were the 4 things that they always need? Service,
Service, supply, sex, and security.
security. Thank you.
So,
I have a question.
Can I also ask something? Oh, go on.
yeah,
No,
go
you
on.
go. You go.
Can people start one end of the spectrum and something might trigger them to go more to the other extreme?
That's kind of what I was going to say. It was a similar.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. So the dysregulation. So you might have a medium kind of narcissist on your default, right? So that's how they are on a daily basis. But something goes really, really bad. And research, there is also literature and research to say that as they get older, they also actually get worse. So there is no going back, and it's more towards the other end. So yeah, they can have a really bad day. So you can be with the kind of a mid-range narcissist, but on a really bad day where they were really challenged, they can go boom, right? And those moments will leave you stunned for life, scarred for life. And it is with the children as well. They just don't care, So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. So there are different types of narcissists. One is grandiose narcissist. Don't worry about writing them down, I'll send you the book. That's easier. So there's the grandiose narcissist. They are, and I'm going to talk about in the context of parenting with the narcissist. Okay. So I've made this more relevant to this situation. So grandiose narcissist, children are there for them to parade around, they don't want to do the parenting because it's inconvenient for them. But I've got one of them, and they will play with the children when they want to play. They want to look good. They buy things for children, um, and but they won't cancel their fun when the children are unwell to be with them. Or you will have to bear the weight of parenting, but they will look good in front of other people, friends and family. This is the kind of parent who goes, oh, look at me, my child is amazing, they've achieved this, that, and the other, but won't spend 5 minutes doing homework with them, won't spend time with them, actually being emotionally there for them. So these are this kind of parents. So if you are with the grandiose kind of partner, or were with the grandiose type of a narcissist, yeah, then your experience is like, they want all the best things. Yeah, they want to look good. They want to keep the status quo, good house, good car, good job, da da da. But they don't actually like to do the work for it. They'll make you work for it. Right? They might be successful people. They might have money. I'm not talking about that. Right? They just want to look good. um so you are constantly working really hard. Things like, say for example, they want to kind of entertain people at home, but they don't kind of want to do the work. They want you to do the work, do the organizing. They just want to look good. Grandiosity. Yeah, these people think they're above the law, they're above everything else, they're above ethics, they're above you. The thing is, deep down, what they feel is insecurity. They feel pathologically insecure about themselves, which is why they push you down, right? They pick confident, empathetic, kind people, and then they actually push you down. The second phase of narcissistic relationship is devaluation, right? That's the phase where they bring you down so much to their level so that they can feel good about themselves. That's why they devalue you. Ooh, that's not good enough. That's not how I would have cooked it. Yeah, what are you wearing? Aren't you going out like that? Are you eating this much? Have you heard of any of these things? Yeah. Or it might be just but you're not, I don't think your parenting is good, you know. It just can come in so many different angles. It comes with this awful body language, the words. And some people are very outright about it, but like somebody like a covert narcissist might not be that outright, but I'll come to that in a minute. So that's the grandiose narcissism. Malignant narcissists, they are the ones, they have grandiose patterns. They're very exploitative, very. For a narcissist, a relationship is very transactional. They will do something for you if they can take like million times back for you, right? These narcissists have grandiose patterns and are very exploitative. They will coerce you to give information or hire a private detective to gather information against you. They'll find loopholes in the divorce law and use them to manipulate custodial battles. They would rather spend thousands on a divorce to ensure that you don't get money that you deserve, but they don't even want the child, but they want to hurt you. They will keep fighting for the children. So these are the malignant are the ones who punch people, like physically violent, sometimes sexually violent. Um, they're just awful. Well, you see this malignant narcissism playing out in the world a lot, if you just look closely. So covert narcissism, This is the one where most of us get, well, I don't have statistics, but covert narcissism is really hard to spot. Reason being, they come across very humble, very kind, very calm. Humility is the one that comes across through them. I went from grandiose narcissist to dating one of them. I'm like, oh my God, how is this even happening? So I can tell you, they come across really kind and genuine. If you'd been with the grandiose narcissist and you meet somebody like that, it's like you won the world because they're like so caring. But because they play the victim card a lot. So what you'll be left with this heaviness constantly working to make it work for them. Okay? Constantly make it work for them. So they'll remain sullen victims years after the divorce or during the relationship, even first week after. So you are just one more person who has let them down. The world has done them so much bad things. My father was like that. My father used to shout at me, oh, the thing is, the traumas are true, but they're looking into the abyss of victimhood. And unfortunately, again, they want that security from you, they want the service from you, they want sex from you, and they want the supply from you, and you will be left exhausted. So, and they are really, really, really difficult to spot. They will share their victimhood with even with the children. I can tell you honestly. I remember, I'll share a quick story. And I remember when I was sort of dating this guy, and I had he had a child, and I had to actually just hold this child accountable because there was some unnecessary comments and sort of acting up, and you have to contain children. So I was trying to do that, and in doing so, where he felt so bad about himself, he started making that child feel guilty to the point this child started like crying, and then I ended up comforting him and comforting that child. I'm like, it's not, it's like crazy. Anyway. So the children may see you so with the covert narcissist, because the world is all bad for them, the children will see you as the bad person, particularly if you want to put boundaries in place and if you want to stick to one type of communication. We'll come to that in a minute, okay? So yeah, there's that risk. Communal narcissists are they get the validation from serving others. These are the people who at schools organizing events, throwing parties, and oh, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you. They get that validation from being of service to others. But oh boy, if you don't listen to them, if you don't give them that validation, then it's like they're going into that victimhood. Oh, I've done this much, like nobody cares about this, you know um and it's like, I sacrifice all my time for these people, but they don't care, like that. And it's very difficult because the communal narcissists are seen in the society as the good people. They have a reputation for being helpful, spiritual, and but at home they're quite neglectful. you know it's a bit like, look at me, I'm a super parent, but they're actually not doing any parenting at all. So, and there's the neglectful narcissist, and there's the cultural narcissist as well. Neglectful, they're not interested. They won't even give medicine to children on time. They don't care if the children ate or not. So in a way, out of all the narcissists, neglectful narcissists are the easiest to co-parent with because they simply don't care. You just can carry on with the parenting aspect when the other parent is just like getting on with their own life. And to be honest, though, children are likely to be estranged from them because they don't care about children. They don't want to build up a relationship with children. So you're cut. Ironically, your work is cut out there. Whereas the malignant type and the grandiose and the covert type, they want to be in children's lives so that they can actually control you through children. So there's the generational ones. Inter, this is intergenerational. The cultures that are more authoritarian, more patriarchal, and a bit more tribal. Where the family, it comes above all. I mean, I'm South Asian. I can see this in South Asian cultures. They will protect the head of the family at the cost of actually sacrificing, throwing children under the bus. This is also common in cultures where there's a lot of crisis like trauma, war, unrest, etc. And I come from Sri Lanka, grew up in Sri Lanka. I can say we had a lot of war and things like that. So as a culture, we very hardly had any opportunity to grow as a culture, to feel secure. And I can see these generational patterns going on and on. So, Latin machismo, what's that?
So, like in quite a lot of Mediterranean countries where the man rules the roost.
Yes, yes. Oh, absolutely. You can see it happens in South Asian cultures as well, where the head of the family is a man. I mean, I grew up in an environment, my mom was a teacher and, she was quite independent, but she would always make sure my father is served first and my brother is served next, and then we would eat later, right? So there was no, even if we were at the same table, the first spoonful of rice would go to them first, not me. My needs comes after my brother's, because my brother is a man, you know. So I just left them there. You can get on with your life. My brother can look after him. So I'm here. I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind me cracking a joke here and too, because it's like, what can you do? You make the most of the situation. So I'm not laughing at the situation. So but I have learned to laugh at some of these things because it is actually enjoyable once you go through the healing process. So, what kind of a narcissist are you dealing with?
I think probably the first one that we spoke about, the how do you say it, the grandeur. No,
Yours.
yeah, so predominantly that one, but then also elements of the neglectful narcissist as well.
Yeah.
I kind of see
Yeah.
crossover between the two of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries, Shalini. Yeah, bit of a mix. Yeah, so what happens is there is like a sort of a dominance trait, but it overlaps. It really overlaps because the grandiose narcissist can easily be, look at what she's done to me. She's taken the child away from me, da 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 da. So they can also easily slip into being a covert narcissist as well. Okay, so what we're going to do next is to look at your workbook, Parenting with a Narcissist. The activity number 1 is to set an intention for this session. Okay, so because now we're going to start actually working through some of this stuff. I'll give you 5 minutes. I know, Shalini, you're driving, but you can do these activities later. I'll give you 5 minutes, and I would like you to really think of what you would like. We got hour and 15 minutes. What would you like to get out from this session when we leave? How about being authority children? Threatening to withdraw approval. Oh yeah, that's grandiosity, and that's also malignant. Malignant type narcissism, because yeah, they want what they want, how they want, when they want it. right? And if you don't, then there's it's the punishment. It's one of the punishment methods. It's I won't you won't have a penny from me, or I won't sign that letter. You're not going to go to that school. You're not going to study that unless you agree to do this. You will study medicine, not arts. That's the whole grandiosity and the malignant type. So what I would like you to do is now take 5 minutes and set an intention. Hour and 15 minutes. What would you like as a priority to take away from this workshop? That's number one. That's question number one. Question number two is, in this process, what would you also like for yourself? Right? I don't mean today in the workshop, but this whole difficult situation, what would you like for yourself? So two things, 5 minutes, and then we'll come Do you like more time, or are you okay?
I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay, Holly, Kirstin, you've shared, and thank you so much. Yes, for yourself, so coping skills, better perspective on what's happening, and better material emotional clarity. Yeah, cool. For myself, letting go of my own self judgment about why have I been with this person and allowed them to behave this way to me and to our daughter. Thank you very much. That's the most common question that we all ask. Why have I done this to myself? Why am I letting? But stay away from self blame, because you are conditioned. Understand, and radical acceptance is very important. Understand that you've actually been conditioned for years and years and years to blame yourself, to have self doubt, and to internalize the blame. And why you're feeling this way is a result of that. So it's not you allow this to happen. They manipulated you. They groomed you over time to let go of your true self, right? And that's exactly what they're doing to children as well, because they won't supply. So understand the mechanism of narcissism, and because they want us for things all the time, they're pathologically insecure, and it's shame-based personality. Um, and therefore, they will they want to make you feel less than. So why we are asking this question, why am I doing this? It's because they've conditioned you to believe that way. So that you don't see the truth of their behavior, which is the abuse, right? If you see the abuse, they have to come to terms with their own self, their own behavior. So it's easier to make you look bad and make you the culprit so that they can rule. And that's the whole purpose. And they condition you through little behaviors like that. Like, why have you cooked today? Why haven't you cooked that? Yes, but you used to do this for me. You're not doing this anymore. Little things that comes out every day. You know, your finances are just like all over the place. You can't even handle this anymore. You know, you're not looking after me. We used to be so close, but you don't want me anymore. you know they make you feel so unworthy of yourself, about yourself, because it's easier that way. First, it makes them feel good for just a fraction of seconds, so they will repeat the cycle again. It's like I wouldn't call it an addiction, but it's quite close to how the addiction works. They get the supply, and there's a high, and there's a drop, and they won't supply again. Who can give you the supply the most? Your children and the partner, right? If it's for parents, it's their children. Siblings, it's the siblings. You know, yeah, it is some sort of an emotional addiction. Narcissism isn't an addiction, although narcissistic people can be found in the addiction arena. They're porn addicted, dating addiction, alcohol addiction, all sorts of addiction can go in, because addiction is also covering up pain and unprocessed emotions, and narcissism is also trauma, and actually mainly comes down to very poor parenting, very poor parenting, right? um yeah, and we have the emotional addiction with them, and that is called the trauma bonding. So when we go through, so they love bomb you, right? To begin with. So I'm actually answering your question now, Kirstin. So they love bomb you. So you are in this bubble, beautiful wine, dine, love, great sex, all of that, right? And narcissistic people are quite charming, and they're very good with what they do, and they're confident in bed. So you have this amazing, and it might not be the case for everybody, by the way. um in one of my experiences, I can tell you, this person was like, oh, I'm so addicted to porn. I can't Oh my God, I don't want to go there. Honestly, it's an embarrassing thing for me to even say it. But they can make it look like they make it all about them. Narcissistic people are good in bed because they don't have that inhibition. They don't have the respect towards the other person. It's all about them. It has nothing to do with the other person, right? It's all about they want to show off, they want to show off, they want to get the supply. That's why they're quite adventurous people. So going back to so it's trauma bond. So they have the life bomb, and then the devaluation period, right? And then the discard period. So you have the love bombing phase and the devaluation phase and the discard phase. And that's the cycle of a narcissistic relationship, right? Starting with the love bombing, beautiful story. So you're hooked on that story. You're constantly looking for that. But we had the beautiful days. We had this amazing time. What's happened? Maybe I'm not doing well enough. I want to do more. I want to do more. I'll try this and it might be better. I'll try this. I'll dress better. I'll cook better. I'll earn better. You're constantly on this roller coaster. Um uh Yeah, no worries, Shalini. So we're constantly on the roller coaster, right? Devaluation is when you like you're too sensitive, you're needy all the time, and they manipulate you into believing that you're not good enough. And the discard is when they feel like they're done with you. They won't leave you. Some of them won't leave you. Some of them will go away, cheat, will come back. Some of them won't even cheat. They will stick around, but they won't treat you better, right? Because they're done with you, right? So, to answer that question is, you haven't allowed, and they've conditioned you. That's the thing. But we can either so the trauma bonding. I drifted my thoughts. This is a subject I can go on forever. But so the trauma bonding happens in this love, sort of the three cycles of the the three phases of a narcissistic relationship. So when they're done with the love bombing, trauma bonding usually starts kind of because you're already bonded to that person, to that story. You're looking for that story. You don't see the disrespect and the manipulation and the lies going on. What happens is, so the abuse starts, right? And there's also a period where they apologize. I'm so sorry. I know I'm hurting you. I'm really sorry. It won't happen again. I promise I will change. Right? How many of you have heard this? Right? Let's go on a date. Let's have a date night. Let's have a date night. Today's the day. I change. Doesn't last 24 hours. Same thing again. So the apology, and then it goes into the next level. Abuse increases because, and in between these cycles, there's also period of calmness. They're manufactured. There's a period of calmness. These calmness is manufactured, right? Or sometimes it's because something is going well in their life. Work is all right, money is all right, sex is good, something is happening well in their life, they're getting enough supply, you're doing, everything that they want you to do. So they're good, right? Bam, you want something, bam, boom, the cycle goes again, right? And that's the trauma bonded cycle. Because when we go through that trauma bonding cycle, our brain, neurologically, our neurons in our brain, they create pathways. So there's a pathway, there's a habit in us, right? When we go through the abuse, we wait for the apology. When we get the apology, we know that something is coming, but at the same time, we also know there's going to be a period of love bombing again. We love the love bombing period, the date nights, all of that again. So we get stuck in this cycle. Okay. Holly, would you like to share yours, please? And then we'll have a bit of a break and,
Yeah. I mean, I've got two children. They're really young at the moment, like really young. Um, but I suppose for me, it's just understanding how I can I suppose I'm just, it's, I can't really explain it. It's like this, I sort of want to be able to have the tools. I don't want them to think that their dad's behavior is normal and right and acceptable and okay. And it's dealing with that without coming across as though I'm bashing their dad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something, and they're, I mean, my son's a baby, my son's 8 months old, and my daughter's 3.5, but she's extremely switched on, and you know, I just kind of want to anticipate how I'm going to deal with that, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that's quite at the forefront of my mind. And then personally for myself, I suppose it's techniques that I can use to protect myself personally from him, while still like keeping the personal element out of being a parent with him.
Yeah.
So I'm in a position at the moment where I'm not having any contact with him, he's not having any contact with the children. So at the moment life is quite easy. But
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, it's sort of, where do we go from here? And yeah, how I deal with that separation of kind of bringing myself out of the situation, because I feel like I just don't want anything to do with him ever, but I know that's not realistic moving forward. So I suppose just equipping myself with the tools of being able to just still manage that co-parent relationship,
Yeah.
depending on what that's going to look like, of course, if anything at all.
Yeah. Okay. I can give you hope because I can hear the pressure in your voice.
Yeah.
And take a deep breath, just like ground yourself. Take a deep breath and let it out and ground yourself, okay?
Mm.
And I just, I'm sending you like a big hug as well.
Thanks.
You need that. And we need that. And the second is I'm going to give you like a big bucket of hope
Yeah.
because what you just asked me, it can be done.
Yeah.
Okay. And it starts with understanding you're never going to be able to co-parent.
Yeah.
So ditch the idea of co-parenting,
Yeah.
right? That's the big plaster that I'm going to take off from you. Ditch the idea of co-parenting because you cannot co-parent with them. So that's why you need parallel parenting, which means you parent your children in the way that you want, right? He can be involved, whether through a court order, legal custodial arrangements, make sure everything is covered. Okay. I'm gonna give you a link so you can go through this at home. Yeah. And then do all the things in there one by one in a minute. So yeah, make sure custodial arrangements, everything is done, but make sure we discuss medical arrangement, who makes the medical decisions, who makes the decisions, the big decisions about schools and stuff like that, who makes all those decisions. Make sure they're all in there, black and white, in the custodial arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
get a really good lawyer
Yeah.
who knows about the NPD and the narcissistic personality, so
Yeah.
they will help navigate through that.
Yeah.
Okay, and for yourself, first thing is to regulate yourself. That is to really, really stay calm doing this. You can't because you're gonna, it's all there. You're in the thick of it. You're still having a relationship with them. That's why in your brain, in your mind, in energetically, emotionally, you're still having a relationship with them. And that can only be broken through healing, healing for yourself and knowing you being your authentic self. And that comes in stages. And don't panic. You don't need to go into this straight away, right? So yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I will quickly drop a link to one of my freebies. I don't know if you've downloaded it already. It has a workshop on how to communicate with a narcissist and how to resist baiting, because trust me, he's gonna come back in I don't know, whatever the amount of time. He's gonna bait you. He's gonna either want to get back together with you, or he's just gonna do something to bait you,
Yeah.
right?
We've been separated for nearly a year, so we've kind of been through all of these cycles of this behavior.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've kind of experienced, because I have read it, that document that you said, so I have experienced most of that already.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So have you downloaded that already?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, because you had it in the link, I think, in the first email that you sent.
Oh yes, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go through that. It's very helpful, I think, and we'll cover. So, would you like to continue, or would you need a break?
I'm personally okay, but
Okay, Kirstin, 5 minutes break. I can't hear you.
5 minute bio break would be good.
Okay, awesome. Like stretch your legs and come back, and then we'll,
Yeah,
meet
that
up.
would be great.
I mean, if it goes over 5-10 minutes, are you okay with this?
I need to finish bang on 9 because we need to go home before the storm hits.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, we'll come back at 11 minutes past. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. Thank you for all being here again. So the question you've asked, Holly, about how do I tell my my children's dad's behavior is inappropriate? Okay, it's a tricky one. Your children are younger, aren't they? So let's be perspectives. They spend a lot of time with you, so the other parent's behavior is not going to have a bigger influence on them on a daily basis. So that's your angel, or your sort of saving line. Okay, point. As one, that is one thing. Second, we can't gaslight children, right? We can't trash children, um, trash the other parent to our children. So unless it is, actually we can't at all. So you kind of allow them to have a relationship, the let the children have a relationship, okay? Because you cannot be in the middle of it. It's harmful for the children, unless there is an unless. There are big safeguarding concerns, in the sense that children are going to be neglected, physically and emotionally harmed. There's going to be emotional harm in this process. But as far as safeguarding practices are concerned, if you want to get social services, police involved, there has to be some significant damage, okay, for them to even consider that. So unless there's something like that, unless there's physical, emotional, neglectful, sexual abuse from the other parent, then it's okay for them to have a relationship with the parent. In case of any of those type of abuse going on, your best point of call is the safeguarding officer in the local area. Okay. Lado, they used to be called Lado, I don't know what they're called now, but Lado, leading designated oh my god, I can't remember now, but they're called Lado. Basically, they're the safeguarding officer, they're the social services, right? So you can call the social services and you can get some advice from a practical place. Rubbish advice, right? From rubbish advice, because they have legal restrictions as to how much they can do. That's why you're in a bit of a tricky situation. You really can't do much unless you have a court order, custodial order in place. Even your schools can only respond to that. Okay? So understand the legal kind of restrictions that comes into place. So you want something done, start with the custodial arrangement, right? Go to the court or speak to a lawyer. I'm not qualified to give any legal advice, but that's your first point of call. And And when we start speaking to our children about the other parent's bad behavior, what happens is our children start believing that they're not loved by the other parent. And that is really damaging. It's quite a big emotional trauma for them. And we don't want to cause that trauma to them. Okay? So, how do we handle this? Is a really tight rope to walk, but we can do it, right? How do we handle, unless there is something significant that you really need to talk to them about, then stay away from that conversation. As your children grow up, right, they might ask questions. Why isn't daddy this? Why isn't daddy that? And you can have the conversation at their level. So 3.5 years, did you say? Three
Yeah.
and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
3.5 years. Say, I really can't speak for daddy. That's the truth. That's your reality, right? So be truthful with children. I can't speak for daddy. I really don't know why he's doing that, but I want you to know you're loved. I
Mm.
love you. You're safe. You're loved. You know, that's what children need to know, is that they're safe and they're loved. And they have a voice and they can grow up to be their authentic self. That's the main things. They have one safe parent. That's the research of 50 years of research. Okay, so be confident in it. They need one safe parent, right? This two-parent household is a social construct psychologically, and it's good for them if they have both parents are loving and getting on and all hunky-dory. It's fantastic, but it's not for us. So children need one parent who can emotionally tune into them, whom they can form a healthy attachment with. When that happens, they grow up to be adults who are confident, who are resilient, who are loving. Okay?
Mm.
Empathy is your biggest tool. Emotional attunement and empathy, those are your biggest tool. That's your best tool against the other level of this dark cloud looming over you all the time, is your connection with your children. So go deep with your children. Really, really go deep with your children. Reparent yourself, because we bring a lot of bad habits and practice into our own parenting from our own parents, our society. So reparent yourself and connect with your children. Really allow your children to know the boundaries. Okay. So one thing you can do, starting from now with your 8 months old baby, 3.5 year old, is to teach them what the boundaries are. So boundaries are, so I'm going to take you straight into the boundary part because it's really essential for you and really essential for children. Boundaries are physical boundaries, financial boundaries, emotional boundaries, sexual boundaries, right? Those are the kind of main four kind of boundaries. That those boundaries are for you, right? So you can teach the same thing for your children as well throughout your conversations, right? So it's like, for example, 3.5 year old daughter, right? Would you like mommy to wash you? That's your teaching consent by asking them the question rather than going, let me wash you. And it's easy because we get trapped in it. I'm the mom, you're the mom. It's easy. But be conscious of those moments where you can teach the children the consent seeking. When you do that, what happens in their brain, they learn, oh, somebody actually has to ask to touch my body. Somebody actually has to give me a choice. I have a choice. So they develop a very strong sense of who they are, and they learn to have their own boundaries. And trust me on this one, my daughter's almost 11 now. If I ever cross the boundary, she'll just turn around, stop it. Mommy, I'm not your therapist. Or I don't want to hear you two fighting. Leave the room, close the door. I don't want to hear that. So she's got very strong boundaries. Or she'd say things like, don't threaten me into doing something. I don't want to do it. When I say no, it's a no. And she knows that no has power. So when your children say no, don't push it, right? It's easy for us to go into, I'm the parent, we are busy, right? Take a moment. Why are they saying no? So you can have a conversation. Are you uncomfortable? Can I do anything else for you? How about this? You don't want the purple shoes, but how? And then in that case, you go with two things. Okay, so you got this and you got this. Which one do you want? And then they choose. They become empowered,
Yeah.
right? And that way, what also happens is when the other parent starts trashing and misbehaving and not connecting with children, and because they don't have the patience, they don't have the ability to connect with children, so they want to rush things, and children already know, actually this is not the way, this is making me feel uncomfortable. And little children are very good, and they'll go, no, I don't want to, mommy doesn't do it, you know. they might the other parent might just push for it because they haven't got the patience, they haven't got the depth and the understanding for children, but you're doing it when they're with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they learn. Kirstin, have you got any questions? Okay, Kirstin's typing. Does that answer your question, Holly?
Yes. Yes, and I do, to be honest, I have done a lot of that, even from, from when she was quite a young age.
Mm,
I think it's quite reassuring, sort of you saying, as long as they have that one safe parent, that's the main thing, which is, yeah, reassuring to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other things you can do is to introduce them to healthy role models.
Yeah.
So introduce them to healthy role models and also show empathy. Empathy is the greatest weapon that we have. I don't like to use weapon and empathy in the same sentence. That's what came up. But it's the greatest antidote that we have against narcissism because they lack empathy. If your children are experiencing empathy from other people, then they're going to tune into that empathy. They're going to grow up feeling that empathy and knowing that empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And that means they're going to come back to you whenever something goes wrong. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fawning. So, Kirstin brought an important point, which is so actually, I don't want to mix it all up. Sometimes I can go, okay, let's go into an order. I'll regroup. I'll come to that point, Kirstin. Yeah, so remember that the narcissistic people will never respect your boundaries. The boundaries are for you to know when they're being crossed and how to handle it. Don't ever expect, oh, I've got my boundaries set up now. The narcissistic person is going to listen to it. Nope, that won't happen, right? For them, the boundaries is one of the biggest embarrassment, shame in their life. So they react and they intensifies abuse and intensifies punishment. Um, so, but it's for you to know. So what we're gonna do is, can you see the workbook? So if you go to the boundary section, parallel parenting checklist, it says. So we're gonna take about 10 minutes to do these activities. Have you all found it? So it has boundaries with the narcissistic partner or ex. Let me drop a link. This will help you do this actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about 10 minutes. I'm going to drop a link and it will take you to a page on a website. Okay, not my website, but a different website. And it will teach you the kind of boundaries sort of safety boundaries you need to have in place. Some of you might already have done some of them, but it's a really good checklist. But I say go through the social media checklist first, and then check if you have done all of them. If not, add it to the to-do list to do after this workshop. But keep this link saved, because then you can go through this another time. Did I make myself clear? So I'm going to drop the link. This is the link. If you can go into the page. Ooh, does it say page not found?
I'm just having a look now. No, it's worked for me.
What does it say?
Oh yeah, sorry, we can't seem to find that page.
Ah. Okay, until I find that again, just bear with me. I don't know what happened there. Um, until I find that page, I can find that page quickly. Um, if not, I can email it to you. Go through the checklist here. So we're going to do some work here now, okay? So 7 minutes. Go through the checklist of boundaries with the narcissist. So block social media. Have you blocked them out of social media? Have you blocked other people who can give information about you in the social media? Have you arranged the pickup drop off time? Have you arranged child maintenance? Have you arranged trusted friendship list for you, that you're only going to rely on these people, because there's going to be a lot of enabling people who you don't want to be sharing this experience with. Um, I just had to put that you owe nothing to enablers. You owe nothing to your narcissistic partner or the relatives who enables him. Legal advice sorted, education, healthcare, all these questions discussed. So I'll give you about 5 minutes to go through this list and make a to-do list. If you have done some of these things, tick them. If you haven't, add it to to-do list. Okay, is that all right? About
Yes,
5 minutes.
where's this? Sorry.
It's in the book. It says parallel parenting checklist. Can you see it? It's right after. Oh, I haven't. Let me just check.
The ebook, yeah.
Three, yeah. 8th page in the book that I sent you in the workbook. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, okay.
Okay. Let me find that. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the link. If you go to the link, and I'll guide you what to do, okay? So if you go to the link, scroll down to the place where it says try our digital breakup tool, and then click let's go. Yeah. And when you click let's go, it'll show you like a little tablet kind of a screen, and click on how to keep yourself safe online. There we go. So there's icons, location, email, socials, economic, online entertainment, dating apps, takeaway, food, travel, well-being, and fitness. Because narcissistic people have this tendency to stalk you. So if you click on each and every icon, it'll give you a list of things to do to keep yourself safe online. So they can't track you, they can't um hack into your stuff. I remember my ex, when I came into this house, he um, gifted my daughter a speaker, a Google speaker, and he connected the Google speaker to his phone here, and later found out that actually that way he could actually access to my Google search and stuff. So he's a bit of a tech guy. He knows this stuff, and he stalked me on dating apps. So keep yourself safe, and these are boundary parts that you need to do, because one of the things that the narcissist people do, they when they go through custodial things, is to create make false accusations of you and make you look bad, and they might use whatever it is, and this is one way of keeping you safe anyway. So they just don't know what you do. So you can keep this link saved somewhere and then go through the list one by one later and do things. Is that okay? Yeah, I don't think we will have time to go through that now because it's a really long list. But I really highly recommend that you spend time doing this. It's really good. N- Having gone through this experience, me just taking it really lightly, thinking, oh, it's okay. Honestly, post separation abuse is one of the worst, because their sense of rejection, because they don't like being abandoned. They have a fear of being abandoned. Their abandonment and the sense of the fear of rejection gets triggered, and it just makes them do stuff that that you wouldn't expect they would do. And you think they can't be cruel, any more cruel than they've already been, but trust me, they can. Right? They can. It is when you leave, often in domestic abuse cases, it is when the partner is trying to leave or when they've left, the domestic abuse actually intensifies and the killing stalking begins. Okay, not to scare you, by the way, you know but it's good to know. So keep yourself safe. So the next part of this, have you got any questions around boundaries? You can always follow up with an email. You can always follow up with an email, okay? So, can I pick up on one thing, Kirsten, if that's okay? That's something that you said. I think it's relevant to both of you. I remember my daughter saying at nearly 3, I don't think daddy loves me. They tune in, they feel it, because it's for children. It's an energetic thing. They're very intuitive. Children feel the love and they recognize the love when they receive it. That's why I always say put the trust in children's intuition and their wisdom, way better than us being able to recognize that love. Okay, they're way better than us because they're not conditioned yet. So cut that conditioning lines off. So daddy doesn't love me. I said, okay, I think he does, but he has some strange ways of showing it. I know you've said it, and I'm going to pick up on this one, not to make you feel bad, because Holly's children are 3, and they're going to likely to make these comments. Don't say things like that. The reason is, okay, when you say things like he has some strange ways of showing love, children learn the connection between abuse and love, and they make it okay in their head. So they grow up believing abuse is love. When they receive it from other people, they don't recognize the difference because it's like, oh, this is how daddy loved me, right? So the one way we can break it is to ungaslight children in the sense that you showing the best practices of love, okay, which is consent, respect, listening, right? Listening and really allowing them to grow into their own people, their authenticity. And this the am I all right to Kirsten to pick up on that one, because this is that okay? Just can I dig a little bit deeper into this one? Okay. There's a reason why there's not a reason, there's like ton of reasons why we do this. Trust me, I've done this myself. So there's absolutely no judgment here, and we're human beings. And why we do this is because we feel guilty. We feel guilty that children don't get that love from the other parent. We're trying to be very protective of our children. So we want to tell our children that they are loved, right? But what we can't afford to do here is to give them that wrong idea of what love actually is, and also lie to our children that the other parent loves them. Because when they grow up and they start questioning, actually, this one is not really there for me. I don't feel the love, but mommy told me he loved me. It creates relationship fractures between your relationship, and that's the one we are trying to preserve. The relationship with you and your daughter is the one we're trying to preserve, because that's the antidote to to that not loving, right? I would say, and I get very philosophical about these things with my daughter, and be brave about being philosophical about these things. It's good to have good conversations with your children, right? It first gives them the language, emotional language. Second, it gives them the idea that life is nuanced. It's not black and white, it's nuanced, right? And you can be philosophical, if somebody, something like, I don't know whether daddy loves you or not. I can't tell you that because I'm not daddy, but I can tell you I love you, right? I don't know whether he doesn't either. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying I just don't know, right? One of the things that I face, my daughter's very sort of very inquisitive of what's going on, because my boundaries are very strong. So she thinks I'm a very cold person towards dad, right? She thinks you're very mean to daddy. You're very mean to daddy. I'm like, that's okay. I'm not arguing with that, because that's what she sees and that's what's her reality. If I change that, then I'm gaslighting her, right? She sees me being cold and I'm okay with that, right? So I don't argue with that. I'm like, that's fine. But one of the things that she was trying to do a couple of months ago, because there's like all the trash talk coming from the other end, and she comes home, she goes, you don't trust daddy. You don't trust daddy. I was like, would you really like an answer? She's like, yeah, I want to know. Why don't you trust daddy? Why don't you trust daddy? He's a good man. Why don't you trust daddy? She's 10. Well, she's almost 11. Quite emotionally sound, so I could have the conversation. So it all comes down to your intuition, whether your children are ready to hear and have this conversation. And then I went, I can't trust daddy because of my experience, which I'm not prepared to share with you. And it's okay that mommy keeps the story to herself. Not because I want to keep secrets from you, but because I don't feel comfortable sharing it with you. But you're not going to tell me who to trust and who not to trust, right? That's for me to decide, not for you to decide for me. I don't decide it for you, so don't try to decide it for me, right? You can have these very difficult conversations early on with children. The reason is, first, they learn it's okay to have these conversations and your relationship is not going to be fractured. They might be upset, there's going to be tears, you might cry, emotionally charged conversations, Of course, I did cry for half a day after that. It's like, I can't believe I had to be in that situation where I had to talk about it. And then I explained the different types of abuse that can go on, because her next question was, has he ever physically abused you? Because they talk about it at school, right? And I think the schools teach them. So has he ever physically abused you? This is where I was like, oh, you know, damn. It's one of those things. I don't like lying. I don't like the truth is too bitter for this child to swallow. And there wasn't like punching and stuff, but there was some stuff. So I took a pause and I said no. But then she was like, then why don't you? I said, but that's not the only type of abuse there is. There's all sorts of things. I don't think you're ready to understand them yet. Wait till you're ready, and I will promise and I'll talk to you about it. But I want you to be emotionally ready for it. So you're not really keeping a secret. You're saying, I want to protect you. I want to look after you. Be ready for it first. That's all you're saying. And then she asked me, did he bully you? I thought, you know what? They actually have an understanding of bullying now because they talk about it in school. I said, yes, he did. She went, okay. You know what? She never talked about it to me ever again. Right? And we have to put some level of trust in our children and their wisdom and their intuition and their ability to understand. These conversations are not bad as long as you judge and you decide it's the right time. What we can't afford, and you can have this conversation from a more grounded place. What you can't afford to do is to make your children the therapist, you know, offload the emotions. That you can't do, but you can have difficult conversations. Is that all right? I went into it a lot, didn't I? Is that all right? Yeah. Any questions about that, Holly and Kirstine?
I don't think so. It's very hard, obviously, when they pick up on things and you're asked on the spot, So I've had my 3.5-year-old say to me, well, why is daddy always so nasty to you?
Mm.
You know, what what's an appropriate answer to that to a 3.5-year-old?
Yeah.
Do you love my daddy? Because my daddy loves you. It's like, well, no, I don't. Do you know what I mean? It's very difficult
Yeah.
to kind of come up with an age appropriate answer, but then also I agree, I'm very much about being honest where possible. So it's just finding that balance, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying any of this is difficult, like I said, I
No,
cried
no.
for half a day. I needed 2 therapy sessions after that to get out of that, you
Mm.
know. But this is why you need the support. This is why you need to start healing. This is not me selling anything here. I'm really saying, because I've been through that journey, the more you heal, the more you feel grounded, the more you start stop the more you stop personalizing what's happening, the more you go, oh, well, it's him. I
Yeah.
can handle this conversation. It's about, so there's 4 things that you can do actually. So that the 4 things are, number 1 is stop personalizing it. This isn't about you. This is not you. That's the number 1 thing when you're dealing with a narcissist. Number 2 is don't explain anything. Do not explain anything. Number 3 is don't defend yourself either, because they want a reaction that every time you defend yourself is it's a buckload of supply for them. They love to see you cry, get upset, get angry, because majority of the time, majority of the narcissistic people are quite sadistically driven, in the sense they take pleasure in seeing you upset. right? My go-to mantra is don't give the supply, don't give the supply, don't give the supply, don't give the supply. I'll scrape into a pillow, which is less and less now. I'm like, this is you. You go and live your pathetic life. I'm good. And you get yourself to that point through healing. Okay? Yeah. Honestly, your mantra is going to be one day, you go and live your pathetic life. I'm good. I'm good. I'm loving my children. I've got the gift here. The best of it all is our children. They're with us, and we get to be their parent. We get to see them grow up. And if you can get to see them grow up to be very empathetic, loving children, then you won, right? Then you won, and you will. Okay, so the next activity is oh my God. I don't see time moving. I'm not very good at timekeeping. Okay. So the four pillars is to create this. So the tools, Holly, to the question that you asked earlier are how to create this. The tools are you got to do four things consistently with your children. They're with you, so that's not a problem. They're not going between homes at the moment, but when they begin to, make sure you're offering a smooth transition between homes, make it consistent all the time. So if you're working something, give at least half an hour, 50 minutes if you can to be with them, to welcome. And this is when I'm going to take you through the trauma responses of children. So the when the children are with the narcissistic people, we have 5 trauma responses, right? Our bodies have 5 trauma responses. One is fight. We've heard about this quite a lot. We fight, yeah? But children can't fight because there's authority, there's adults, there's survival, they can't fight. Flight is to run away from that situation. They can't do that either, where the teenagers might try to do that older. And the third response is a freeze, right? Do nothing. Or like the whole sort of disassociation, unless there's massive trauma like physical abuse, that doesn't tend to happen. So what tends to happen is the fourth one, which is the fawn response or friendly response, which means they try to appease the narcissistic partner. Sorry, not the partner, dad, father or mother in some cases, right? So they'll do anything to make them happy. They'll do anything to make them happy. That includes abiding the loyalty, right? Feeling like they want to protect the other parent. Yeah, that's why you're nasty. That it comes from a place of wanting to protect the other parent. And children should never be in that position. They should never ever be in that position, but the other parent make sure they do, because that way they can get the control over you, right? And it's a sick mind. That's all I can say. It's just a sick, sick, sick pattern. And so what they do is when the children come to you, Kirsten, and this happens to teenagers as well. When their children come to you, you're the safe haven. So you end up getting the what do you call, the rough end of the stick or something? I don't know what the English expression is like. Yeah, you tend to get the rough end of the stick because they have, oh God, I remember those days when she used to go between the houses to come home, cry, upset, angry for no reason, out of nowhere. I could be cooking the favorite thing, like, I don't like it. What happens is you're the safe place, you're the safe haven. Their whole body goes to red, amber to green. So, which means red is that with the fawn response, where they're like sort of appeasing the other parent. And now they're dysregulated. Dysregulated, is the amber. That's what you see as the misbehavior or angry outburst or withdrawal or shouting at you, saying mean things to you, right? So don't personalize it. It's not about you. It's not about your parenting either. This is about the trauma response. And then when you can facilitate, regulation and co-regulation, they come to the green zone, which is the connection, So to regulate with your children, remember the 3 R's: regulate, relate, reason. Yeah. So the first one is the regulate one. The second one is the relate one, right? And that's your relationship. The third is the reason. Children must be contained. It is not acceptable for them to be disrespectful to you, right? They must be contained. It's also not acceptable that they are overcompensated with toys or whatever it is. We still must contain them and teach them the right behavior. I'm not putting them good bad behavior. I'm just saying, there are socially acceptable behaviors, respectful empathetic behavior that we expect from children. And it's your boundaries got to be that you expect that from children as well. So regulate this, and I'll teach you a couple of things that you can do with children. You have little ones, don't you? So you can blow bubbles with them. Yeah, so the 3.5-year-old, you can, if they come home, let's say, okay, why don't you blow bubbles with me? Like pretend bubbles, get them to blow bubbles. So take a deep breath and blow into their hands. Like, oh, let's pretend we're, blowing bubbles. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms them down. That's one thing. Another thing you can do is give them some, like a ice cube or something like that to suck. It's change the temperature. Or you can give them a cold compress. You have an ice pack at home. 3.5-year-old, of course you have one, right? And give them something like that to play with. If you want to play with that, so that it regulates the nervous system. Okay. Another thing you can do is, I don't know whether they will do it because it's not as fun as sucking an ice cube. This is butterfly tapping. You can do it with them, right? Do it just gently, just tap either side. Just Google butterfly tapping or YouTube butterfly tapping, and they'll show you properly. I think these techniques are in the handbook I've given you anyway. Okay, so that's butterfly tapping. Okay, another thing is, I'll send you a separate EFT tapping, but I don't think we have enough time to do that now. If they're really upset, you can get them, just put them across your shoulders. Imagine this is your baby, yeah? So you find their spine, okay? So you can gently tap either side of their spine. What it does, it releases the it calms the nervous system down, okay? You can just either side, it's gentle tapping, right? So the amygdala in our brain, which is the smoke detector, which is what tells us danger, danger, danger. When you tap, it breaks the signals. It's and then it kind of regulates them. So regulate. Do some of them with them. So regulate. And then you co-regulate with them. So regulate is you help them regulate, co-regulate, you co-regulate with them. So you can do it with them. Don't instruct younger children to do them because they're like, what is this? So do it with them, okay? Just do it with them. Okay. I'm aware of time, so let's just rush through this. This is a half-a-day workshop, I'm telling you. I think next time I'm going to do a half-a-day workshop, not just the 2 hours. Yeah. All right, awesome. And I'll send you the feedback form as well, Kirsten, if you just don't mind giving me some feedback after that. Okay. So we've got 5 more minutes anyway. So the relate is the next one. Relate is your relationship with them, your connection. So you can sit next to them, and this is really important for teenage children. They don't want to encroach they don't want you to encroach the space, so you can kind of parallel play kind of thing. So you can cook side by side, walk side by side, watch TV side by side. And Holly, you can do a role play side by side, or even like cooking kind of activities side by side with them. So you have a relationship with them, you connect with them, and then you explain. Because when you're regulated, what happens if you raise your voice? What happens is it's going to start sending adrenaline. It's going to start pump adrenaline into their system, which is going to send their body into the trauma response. And that's when the arguments escalate with your children. But if you use a very soothing voice, yeah, it's not going to send any adrenaline, and therefore they're regulated. Okay. um so that's something that you can do. This is a big area. Healing is a big part of it. Learning skills is a big part of it. Like learning how to ungaslight your children is a big part of it. Helping your children through anxiety is a big part of it. Um, and I will just quickly, before you go, Kirsten, just quickly jump in and share what you have. So I have, this is not a selling, just sharing what I have. You can choose to carry on working. I have a pay what you can offer at the moment. Once a month, you can book 1 hour on a pay what you can basis, anything from 25 to £100, I think. You can choose a range. And the other one I have is one-on-one sessions. That's a monthly subscription. Just connect and chat with me if you would like to do some more work, one-on-one work, healing work. Monthly subscription is where you can pay month by month. There's no contracts, in the sense like there's no bulk that you need to buy. You pay for that month. That's 3 hours sessions, workshops for free, journals that I would follow up after sessions as well. So you have some time to work. You have unlimited access to me via text, or email. And then you can leave anytime, you can rejoin anytime. Okay. So it's not, and it is priced as a 450 a month at the moment, but do reach out to me because I know everybody's going through financial difficulties, so I can be flexible with the pricing. Okay. So what I want you for is for you to get the help. So because it's really important. So reach out if you'd like. um that's what I have at the moment. I am in the process of developing more courses and stuff in the future, so it's much more accessible for people. But that's what I have, so you can reach out anytime. And I've got a couple of more bits to do. Kirsten, are you okay for me to like carry on? Are you gonna go now? Okay. Well, lovely to see you, and I will send you a follow-up email, and I'll catch up with you. Maybe I'll send you a text on the membership then if you're there. All right. Awesome. Take care then. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye. Okay, where are we? Have you got 5 more minutes? I think we might be able to like wrap it up in 5 more minutes,
Yeah,
Ollie.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the children have trauma responses. So going back to where 4 pillars. Yeah, provide alternative environments for fun and light activities is really important for them to be exposed into role models and different environments where they can actually grow up to know who they are, authentic self, and support children with self-regulation. We've talked about that, and offer a smooth transition. We talked about that, and then be present with them and use critical thinking. Critical thinking is where you don't give the answers, but you elicit the answers from children. It's where, so tell me, how do you feel about this? How would you like to respond? What would you have liked to hear? So you're really, really tuned into their internal world. 3.5 years, you're good to go with the critical thinking questions.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, oh, tell me more, tell me more. So you ask open-ended questions, right? Because when you give instructions, it is your language that's going into their head. When you ask critical thinking questions, you're eliciting their answers in their world, and you can just tune in. Okay, really be conscious all the time, like be in their world all the time. Be present. That's the thing. Be present. Trauma responses, just pay attention to fear of being separated, crying, whimpering, screaming, immobility, aimless motion, trembling, excessive clinging. If you see any of these things, obviously, take your children to see a therapist for themselves. And we talked about that. Okay, so your recovery. So it's essential that you go through recovery, in order for you to be there for your children and be present. So recovering from narcissistic abuse, just it's like a spaghetti junction, really. This one is because they really have a way of destroying your authentic self and who you are as a person, right? They really do. They condition you to be somebody that you're not. Your value system and everything is destroyed. So which stage do you think you are? So there are so many different sort of stages of this. Shock is when you just discover, oh my God, shock. What the fuck? Why have I let this happen? I don't understand. That's the shock. Denial is, no, we had good days. It can't be that bad. It's probably having a bad day. I don't think it's happened. And then you hit the rock bottom because you kind of understand, yeah, this is what's happened. And there's grief and there's anger, there's fury, all of this going on. And you understand about narcissistic abuse, and there's some level of discovery, and you're going deeper into research, and there is some level of radical accepting. And that's when people usually seek healing. But there's a lot of relapses in this process. And then, honestly, you can fly high that don't do it for the narcissist, by the way, because it's not a good
Yeah.
way to go. Don't do
Yeah.
it for the narcissist, but do it for yourself. But where do you see yourself
I
in
think
this?
I'm definitely probably at the end of that spectrum. Like I've been through pretty much all of those things that you've mentioned. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, I'm definitely at the end of that now.
yeah,
I'm not obviously living with that person, and I don't feel like I need to safeguard myself in any way in that sense. So yeah, I'm definitely at the end of it. I think it's more just moving, well, acknowledging what I've lived with for such a long time, moving forward from it, and just not, what's the word? Yeah, I'm very much like when you've said things like take the personal element out of it, is the whole it's them, not you. It took me quite a long time to get my head around that. Whereas
mm,
I'm there now where I'm like, I don't take this personally because I know he's not just personally like that to me because of me. That is just him. That is just how he will be
yeah,
forevermore in any of his relationships.
yeah,
Um, and I think, yeah, and the whole kind of trauma bonding thing was quite a big thing between us, which I never even really realized. But I think what scares me a little bit is I see that starting to develop with our daughter a little bit, which and I feel like he uses her as a bit of an emotional crutch,
yeah. They do that.
and that freaks me out because that's what he used to do to me. But
Yeah,
and now I've cut him off, and now I'm not available to him to be able
yeah,
to do that. I do see him starting to do that with her, which
yeah,
concerns me, and I don't really know how to manage that. Um, so yeah, it's just, I suppose, navigating that now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Does that make any sense?
Yes, I think so. I think so. You're kind of in between the wanting to healing. You're also seeing, so you're kind of where acceptance pass. You've come to the radical acceptance. This is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's uphill now with
Yeah.
a lot of relapses in between. The relapses happen more often in the co-parenting scenario or parenting scenario because the trauma isn't really over, because
And
it's
in the
still,
last 12 months, I'd say I'd relapsed a lot
yeah,
in that time, whereas now I'm past that,
yeah,
where there's to the point of like, we have no communication. We're going through a legal process. We don't communicate on WhatsApp, for example. We use a family sharing app.
yeah,
So I'm kind of out that other side where I've
mm,
broken that whole cycle.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm almost there. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
cool. So what I would like you to then write on the right-hand side of that workbook is your experience and what you've learned in the process about yourself. So,
Yeah.
because one of the things that happens to us is when you go through narcissistic abuse is we lose ourselves. We don't know what we like anymore. We don't know what we like to eat anymore, dress anymore, what aspirations we have anymore. We're just simply surviving as the shell of a people, right? So
Mhm.
I want you to like, not I want you to, I'd invite you to, I want you to write, I'd invite you to write down the aspirations for you, and who are you as a person. What do I like to eat? What kind of songs do I like to listen to? What actually gives me the joy, you know? So really like start working towards knowing you better, knowing you better. And yeah, I mean, carry on working with releasing the sort of the trapped trauma in the nervous system so that you are triggered less and less and less. That's I've obviously given you a map of things that how we can
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
We can just sort of go through grief recovery and trauma bond, change out of trauma bond, change these negative patterns like enmeshment and codependency, you know. And we have these core beliefs within ourselves that we are not worthy, and that is what usually ends up um gets us into these situations. So keep changing them and just yeah, work towards your goals and aspirations. That's the way to heal, and you can absolutely heal. Have a wonderful life for yourself. Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording now. Is that all right? Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So stop